Chapter 2. The first day on the trail to Abilene came and went. On the morning of the second day, dark clouds rolled in, and Blane knew he was in for a storm. The black beneath Blane, in contrast to his normally high-spirited but controlled temperament, had grown restless. The mighty animal knew the coming storm meant thunder and lightning, and he disliked such atmospheric disturbances. Blane himself was displeased by the thought of getting drenched by the inevitable downpour. So, by mid-morning, he began looking for suitable shelter. Being familiar with the trail ahead, and knowing of no place to hole up, he veered from the trail and headed west. After a time, he saw smoke rising in the distance and turned the black in that direction. With a gentle nudge of spurs, Blane brought the animal to an easy lope. By now, the temperature had dropped and the wind had picked up. Feeling another nudge of spurs, the horse lowered his head and broke into a smooth gallop. The sound of the bridle, the leather saddle, and the steady breathing of the horse played a familiar rhythmic tune against the wind. As Blane had hoped, the smoke was rising from the chimney of a cabin. Beside the wooden structure was a barn. He reached the buildings as the first thunder rumbled across the heavens. Dismounting the black, Blane heard a man's voice. "Who is it?" the man yelled in a hostile tone. Blane turned toward the window from which the man had yelled and saw a Winchester pointed at him. "I'm Parson Blane. I'd like to stable my horse and wait out the storm. I mean you no harm." "You a preacher?" the man yelled. "Yes, sir, I am. On my way to Abilene." Slightly softening his tone, the man said, "Okay, stable your horse and come on in." "Thank you, sir." Inside the barn, Blane heard the crack of thunder, low and close. The black's eyes were wide, but he stood steady. "It's all right, boy," Blane said in a soothing voice. He stripped the animal of the saddle and rubbed him down. Then he picked up his saddlebags and walked to the barn door. The first drops of rain had begun to sprinkle the ground. Blane jogged across the open area from the barn to the cabin, and then he knocked on the door. When he heard the man's voice, he opened the door and stepped inside. The man was sitting at a table in front of the fireplace. He held the Winchester, trained directly on Blane. "First thing you do, mister, is take off that gun belt and hang it there by the door." "Yes, sir. Like I said, I mean you no harm." The man nodded, but said nothing. He continued to hold the Winchester steady. "I'm assuming," Blane said, "you mean me no harm either. Am I right about that?" The man leaned back in his chair. "You're still alive, ain't you?" As Blane hung his gun belt on a hook, he said, "Yes, sir, I'm still alive. But you have me wondering for just how long." "Mister," the man said, "as long as you are who you say you are, I reckon you'll live a lot longer than if you ain't. Now empty out those saddlebags on the floor and let's take a look-see." Blane had noticed it the moment he had opened the door. With the threat of the rifle pointed at him, however, the significance of what he had noticed had not registered in his mind until now. It was the smell. "Who is hurt?" Blane asked bluntly. The man sat up. "What are you talking about?" "Someone in this house is hurt. I was a medic in the war. I live with the smell of blood and bandages and worse in my dreams. Who is back in one of those rooms?" The man lowered the Winchester. He turned his head and yelled, "It's okay. You can come out now." The door to one of the back rooms opened, and a woman and a little girl appeared. "Hello, ma'am. I'm Parson Blane," he said, removing his hat. "It's my son, Parson," the man said. He's laying back there with a broken leg. Fever came upon him last night. You say you know something about medicine? Let me see him. The woman led Blane to the boy, and the man followed them into the room. One look, and Blane knew the boy was in serious trouble. How long has he been like this? Pert near a week, the man said. You know of any doctor closer than Abilene? I don't know of any doctor at all, the man said. This boy needs a doctor right now. The closest doctor I know of is in Abilene. That's a 2-day ride. If we use that wagon in the barn, it will take us 3 or 4 days. If the boy stays like this any longer, he'll die. Can't you do anything for my son? The woman asked. I have no medicine to take down the infection. This boy needs a doctor. I'm no doctor. Blane quickly brushed past the man and his wife. For a brief moment he stood in the outer room looking into the tearful eyes of the little girl. Even at that tender age, she knew her brother was dying. Blane turned and rushed out of the cabin. The clouds had broken wide open, and he felt the fury of the wind and the rain. He knew the boy would die quickly without help. Yet, with the time running out, here, in the middle of nowhere, no help was to be had. He stood and looked up. Then he yelled, "Why, God? Why?" This concludes the episode Faith Part 1. Our story continues in Faith Part 2, which will soon be posted to the website stevelarose.com. You can visit the site by typing stevelarose.com into the URL address window of your web browser. You may email me at stevelarose@sbcglobal.net. The story is edited by Jan Chalupsky. Artwork by Bill Wellman. Acoustical music was provided by Val Davis, excerpted from his song, The Texas Sky, available at garageband.com. For more information on Val Davis, visit valdavis.com. This has been an episode of The Wild West Adventures of Parson Sam Blane, an original story in a continuing series by Steve LaRose. Thank you for listening. Until next time, may God pour out His blessings upon you and upon those you love. Yours truly, Steve LaRose.